Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
An episode of the West Coast program, The Whistler. This episode was originally broadcast December 23rd, 1951, and it's entitled Christmas Gift.
And now stay tuned for the mystery program that is unique among all mystery programs. Because even when you know who is guilty, you always receive a startling surprise at the final curtain. In the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, transcribed by the Signal Oil Company to enable the entire production staff of The Whistler to spend the Christmas weekend at home with their families. Signal, the famous Go Farther gasoline, invite you to sit back and enjoy another strange story by The Whistler.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
And now for the Signal Oil Company, The Whistler's strange story, Christmas Gift.
Christmas was only a few hours away, and Mary Winston couldn't help but marvel that its spirit could reach down and touch a cheap nightclub like Pete's Cantina on the outskirts of Panama City. Sitting alone at a table, she gazed at her tawdry surroundings. And then from the bar at the far end of the club came the strains of a Christmas melody, a melody which brought back memories of happier Christmas Eves. Yes, the Christmas spirit is undying, isn't it, Mary? You watch the strolling soloist, Sailor Reynolds, nod as he comes closer and passes your table. It's been 3 months now since you were hired as a singing hostess at Pete's Cantina. 3 months that you've been billed as Candy Porter with no one, not even the proprietor, knowing your real identity, Mary Winston. At long last, as Candy Porter, you seem to be safely away from your past. As the music ends, you look up, aware suddenly that Pete Gardinas, the rolling, heavy-set proprietor, is approaching your table.
Candy! Candy! Look, there is an American gentleman just came in. He wants to buy you some champagne. Champagne, you hear?
Please, I'm not in the mood tonight.
Look, kid, this looks like a big spender. If he wants to buy champagne...
All right, all right.
You turn and see the tall, heavy-set American approach, and suddenly you become tense. After a year of running away, you've learned to spot his kind in a moment, haven't you, Mary? You're certain he's a detective. And now you have to fight to remain calm as he approaches.
Sit down, Mr. Fontaine. Sit down.
Sure you don't mind, Miss Porter?
Of course not.
Thanks. In that case, I will.
I'll go get the champagne. I keep him on ice. 11 years old, too.
Cigarette, Mr. Fontaine?
No, thanks.
You don't mind if I do?
Oh, no, of course not. Oh, here. Light?
Thanks.
Well, this is very unusual for me, spending the Christmas season so far away from home.
Mm-hmm. How come?
Business. Important business.
Couldn't it wait?
No. This business means a lot to the people I work for.
Here she is, what do you say, the bubble water? From Marseille, 13 years old.
You said 11.
That was from Le Havre. This is even better. Now I put him back in the ice. If you want some more, just call Pete. I've got more, just like it.
Well, I guess it's a few hours early to say Merry Christmas, Miss Porter. So I guess I'd better just say good luck, huh?
Thanks. And here's hoping you find Whatever you came here for.
Oh, I've already found what I came for. You see, I came for you, Mary Winston.
December 23rd, 1951, The Whistler on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
And here's the cinnamon bear.
The oldest known children's Christmas serial in radio history, The Cinnamon Bear, featuring some of the most popular actors in radio history, including Elliot Lewis, Joseph Kearns, Verna Felton, Lou Merrill, Frank Nelson, Howard McNear, and child actress Barbara Jean Wong. 85 years later, this series of Judy and Jimmy traveling to Maybeland to recover their silver star still fascinates youngsters of all ages. Now we're offering the entire 26-episode series of The Cinnamon Bear via download for a Buy Me a Coffee donation of $10 or more at classicradio.stream. Support Classic Radio Theater and have The Cinnamon Bear for your family to enjoy for years to come. Go to classicradio.stream and donate $10 or more, and I'll send you a link for immediate download. classicradio.stream. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, more The Whistler, Christmas Gift, December 23rd, 1951.
It's ironic, isn't it, Mary? A sorry Christmas gift after all the months of hiding, running from one town and then another, using a different name in each place, but never your own. Mary Winston. These past 3 months you've been known as Candy Porter, singing hostess in Pete's Cantina here in Panama City. And now this detective sitting across from you has called you by your real name, Mary Winston. And you can't run, can you, Mary? Facing Fontaine, you decide there's only one move you can make. That you've only one card left, but if you play it wisely, carefully, it might prove to be an ace.
You say you came here after me, Mr. Fontaine?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you mean.
I think you do. And if I were you, I'd be ready to leave for Los Angeles in the morning, Miss Winston.
Like the billing says, my name is Candy Porter.
I know what the billing says. I know what it said in Brooklyn when you were billed as Doris Trent. In Denver when you were billed as Gladys James. But when you took a powder out of Los Angeles a year ago, you were Mary Winston.
You know, it's strange you're mentioning Mary Winston. I was even thinking about her when you came in. A lot of other people have mistaken me for Mary Winston. We could have passed for twin sisters. She was my best friend. I could tell you a lot about her if you feel like listening.
Sure. I'll listen. Go ahead and talk if it'll make you feel any better. We can't get away until tomorrow morning anyway. The more you tell now, the less you'll have to tell later.
Thanks. You see, Mr. Fontaine, Mary Winston was just a good kid who got a bad break. She was in love with a swell guy, but scared to death of a hoodlum. It's an unusual story, Mr. Fontaine.
It was an unusual story, wasn't it, Mary? It began a year ago at a Christmas party given by your employers, the Southwestern Manufacturing Company, in the pink room of the swank Wilchester Hotel. And you were the hit of the evening. You sang 3 songs and went over big. Your friends from the office hadn't known of your talent, but they all agreed you were fine, and when the party was over, you were feeling good. So good you decided to drop into the hotel cocktail lounge, make a phone call or two, and have a nightcap by yourself before going home. When you finished your phoning, you walked to a vacant stool at the bar.
Scotch and soda.
Make mine the same, Bill.
Gotcha.
I heard you sing tonight. You were terrific.
Thanks.
What's the matter? Did he stand you up?
Who?
The guy you were just talking to on the phone. No. I guess he didn't stand you up.
Didn't he?
He's on his way here right now. Lucky guy.
Here you are, folks.
Take it out of here, Bill.
$1.80 out of 10.
Well, now look here, Mr.
Oh, take it easy. It's practically Christmas. What's the harm in my buying you one drink? Like I said, I liked your voice,
Here's
Miss
your
Winston.
change.
Thank you, Bill.
You a detective or a mind reader?
Oh, you mean your name?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't any trick to find that out. I just asked one of the boys I saw dancing with you. My name's Joe Collins. I see you've never heard of me.
Should I have? Oh, now I get it. You're a professional talent scout and want to get me into the movies.
Nope. I'm a gambler. Disapprove?
Why? Live and let live's my motto, and that's exactly what I'm going to do right now.
What?
Live my life and let you live yours. Good night, Mr. Collins. Just think I can tell the girls at the office tomorrow I met a real live gambler.
Wait a minute. You could tell them a lot more than that if you believed in your voice as much as I do.
Really?
Mm-hmm. You've heard of Domingo's out on Sunset, haven't you?
It's an undercover gambling club, isn't it?
It's more than a gambling club. There's a swell floor show. A lot of big people go out there, people that count.
And all intimate friends of yours, I'm sure.
No, but I know quite a few. Some who could push you right to the top with that voice of yours.
Mr. Collins, this is the oldest line I ever heard.
It's not a line, but skip it. Go on home, listen to the radio, eat candy. You can have a terrific time. If you go to Domingo's with me, you can't tell what might happen. You might have to meet a couple of show producers, maybe even sing. So play it safe. Go on home. Maybe dull, but you'll always get to work on time.
Is that all you have to say?
Yeah, that's all. Except, nighty-night.
Wait a minute.
Yeah?
Could we be back early?
We'll leave any time you say.
Well, what are we waiting for?
Well, now you're making sense. I'll call a cab.
Well, never mind. I have a car. It's parked right around the corner.
Joe Collins used just the right approach, didn't he, Mary? You realized you were being a fool. But as the hours passed, you told yourself your fears were groundless. Joe treated you with perfect courtesy, introduced you to several people, including the producer of the floor show. You even sang a number which was well received. Later, you watched the gambling for a while and then proceeded to the Silver Room to enjoy the second floor show. Afterward, you had supper in the main dining room and watched the guests dancing.
Joe.
Then suddenly, you had enough.
Joe, do you mind if we leave now?
I said we'd leave any time you said. What hit you, the music?
I guess that's it.
Another guy?
Another guy. My fiancé, Dr. Frank Wilson.
What happened to, Dr. Wilson?
He's in Korea.
Marines?
No, I mean, Doctor. It was his car we drove out here in.
Oh, it's too bad. We could have had a lot of fun. Well, shall we go?
Please.
Hop in, unless you want me to drive.
No, I'll drive.
Good. We'll probably be safer that way.
As you drove toward your little apartment on Clinton Avenue, you were glad your reckless little adventure was nearing its end. Everything had been fine so far, but you couldn't throw off a feeling of uneasiness. For a few miles, Joe said little, and then he seemed preoccupied, and you were relieved when he finally broke his strange silence.
Say, Mary, would you mind stopping for a minute at that drive-in? All of a sudden, I got an awful headache. Maybe I can get some aspirin there.
I doubt it, but we'll give it a try.
You can keep the motor running while I'm gone, huh? I'll only be gone a few seconds.
Okay. What? Joe!
Get going.
Joe, you shot him!
I said get going fast. There's a gun in your ribs, baby. You just saw what happened to one guy that crossed me.
Did you kill him?
I don't know.
You... Oh, why was I such a fool?
Turn right at the next corner. A car's been tailing us for the last 5 minutes.
I'm glad. I hope it's a prowl car. It'll save me the trouble of phoning the police.
I said turn. Yeah, he didn't turn, baby. You know, you shouldn't have said what you did about phoning the cops. Nobody but me and you knows about that drive-in job. You just better pull over and park. We got a couple of things to talk over. I said pull over.
Okay. Please, Joe. Joe, don't kill me. I know you can do it easy, but I'll never tell about tonight.
That's the way you feel now. An hour from now, you'll feel different.
Oh, no, I won't. On my word of honor, I'll make a deal with you, Joe. I'll trade you my silence for my life. I swear I won't talk about it ever.
You sound like you really mean that.
Oh, I do mean it, Joe. I swear it. I swear it.
You swear it, huh?
Yes, Joe. I swear it.
Well, I'm not being very smart, but I'm going to take a chance. You drove the getaway car, so I guess that makes us partners anyway. Yeah. You know, partner, we ought to have a lot of fun together. Now, how about dropping me off at my place, huh?
Tell me where to go.
Live about 6 blocks from here. Just turn to the right at the
After you dropped Joe and reached your apartment, you were so weak you could hardly stand. You literally fell into bed. You tried to sleep, but sleep was impossible. Early the following morning, you heard the newsboys shoving the morning paper under your apartment door. You hurried across the room and looked at the front page. The headlines and stories sickened you.
Drive-in manager shot in attempted holdup. Dies. Unidentified man and woman seen fleeing from scene of crime in dark green 49 model sedan. Pedestrian believes he can identify car.
There it was, Mary. Your situation looked hopeless, didn't it? You felt you must keep your word to Joe Collins, but you knew you must never see him again. Only one avenue seemed open to you. You had to leave town and disappear. You dressed hurriedly, packed a few belongings, withdrew your savings from the bank, and by noon were on an eastbound plane for New York. You decided to take advantage of your voice and become a professional entertainer. The first few weeks you auditioned almost daily with negative results. But finally, after 3 months, you were singing at the Golden Lion, a prosperous little nightclub in Brooklyn, New York. After a shaky start, you became a featured performer under the name of Doris Trent. As the weeks went by, your work improved. You became sure of yourself. And one night you noticed Vern Shields, famous musical comedy producer, in the audience. His presence seemed to inspire you, and you went over better than ever. Afterwards, in your dressing room, you wondered what he thought of your voice. You were certain that your visitor was Vern Shields. Weren't you, Mary?
Come in.
Well, long time no see, Miss Trent. Doris Trent, it says on the program.
Joe.
I'm surprised you recognized me. I thought you'd forgotten me.
All right, Joe, you found me. Now, what's on your mind?
You double-crossed me, baby.
Were you crazy? That's why I left town, so I wouldn't even have to talk to anybody.
You wrote the police, though, didn't you?
Oh, you're wrong, Joe. I didn't write to anybody.
It had to be you. It couldn't have been anybody else. 2 days after you left, they picked me up for questioning.
It wasn't me. I've kept my word with you, Joe.
Yeah? Well, there's one way you can convince me.
How?
Marry me. Tonight.
Marry you?
Mm-hmm. That way I'll be sure of you. Wives can't testify against their husbands. Besides, I'll know what you're doing all the time.
Look, Joe, I gotta do my show. Let's talk this over in the morning.
Tonight. We're going up to Connecticut. Go ahead and do your show. Only if you've got any ideas about calling the cops, don't forget you drove the getaway car. And in case anything happens to me, there's a written confession in my pocket telling exactly how you helped me pull the job. How we used your boyfriend's car. How you kept the motor running waiting for me.
You've thought of everything, haven't you?
Everything, so don't try anything. Now go ahead and do your show. I'll wait for you here.
You started down the hallway, turned toward the powder room off stage. Suddenly you realized what a fool you'd been. But you made up your mind not to keep on being a fool, didn't you, Mary? Not with that wall telephone just 5 steps ahead of you.
Operator, get me police headquarters and hurry.
Better hang up quick, baby. I mean, quick. I had a hunch you'd try to double-cross me. Now I know for sure who wrote that note to the cops.
I didn't, Joe. Honest, I didn't.
You just tried to call him, didn't you? All of a sudden, I've lost interest in getting married. We're just going to take a little ride. Now, come on, baby.
No, Joe, I'm not moving a foot. Not an inch. You let go of my arm.
Hey, what's going on here? Something wrong, Doris? Is this guy bothering you?
Yes, he is. He wants to date me. Tell him to leave, will you, Eddie?
Well, maybe I better take him into the office and call the cops.
No, thanks, Eddie. There's no need for that. He's just another wolf. Tell him to leave. That's good enough.
You heard what the lady said, Bub. Start traveling.
Okay, Pop, anything you say. I'll see the lady later. I'll be parked right across the street, Miss Trent.
You should have let me call the cops.
I would have, if he hadn't had you covered with a gun.
Oh, I see. Gee, thanks, kid. I guess you saved my life.
Skip it. Look, Eddie, I gotta get out of town, and fast.
After what you just did for me, getting you out of town is a cinch. Grab some clothes while I phone my wife. I'm bringing you home. We'll go out the rear entrance. My car's on the lot next door. Tomorrow I'll call a friend of mine in Denver. He'll put you to work right away. You better change your name, though.
That'll be easy. I'm getting used to it. So, Mr. Fontaine, that's where I met Mary Winston. In Denver at the Hi-Hat Club, billed as Gladys James. She was there for quite a while, room with me. Then she left just like that one night, when a waiter told her some guy wanted to interview her for a magazine. She figured it was Joe Collins again. That's the last I ever saw of her.
That's the end of the story?
That's the end.
And Mary Winston told you all this?
Well, we were close friends.
I'll say you were.
You don't believe me, do you?
If you were in my position, would you believe a story like that?
No, I don't suppose I would.
And the conclusion of The Whistler, December 23rd, 1951, when Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox continues. But first, these important words from your favorite radio station. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of The Whistler, Christmas Gift, December 23rd, 1951.
Well, Mary, it looks as though you've lost, doesn't it? That your show wasn't good enough. The man across the table, the detective you're certain has come to take you back to Los Angeles to stand trial for a murder you had nothing to do with, doesn't believe you. You're certain, too, that the jury in Los Angeles won't believe you, not after you're running away. Your phony names, your present surroundings. You're sure Joe Collins has been captured, that the authorities have read his confession, that he's trumped your last card, ruined forever your hopes of eventual reunion with the man you still love, Dr. Frank Wilson. Yes, Mary, it looks as though you've lost, but you're going to play the game through to the end anyhow. White Christmas. If Sailor Reynolds knew what that song did to you, the memories it brings back, he'd play something else, wouldn't he, Mary? As Fontaine gazes into space and drums his fingers silently on the table, you watch him closely, await his next words.
How long did you say you'd been here?
I didn't say, but I got here about 3 months ago.
You like it here?
No.
That's what I figured. Look, Miss...
Cigarette, Mr. Fontaine?
Yeah, thanks.
Light?
Mm-hmm. Thanks again, Miss Porter.
Did you say Porter?
You said your name was, didn't you? That's what the billing says, too, isn't it?
You mean you believe me?
It sounded straight to me. Well, looks as though I came a long way for nothing, doesn't it? Still, I'm kind of glad I came. I always figured that confession they found on Joe Collins' body was a phony.
Joe Collins? Joe Collins dead?
Yeah. The Brooklyn police got him one night about 5 months ago. A woman called the police from a little nightclub, the Golden Lion Club. He hung out before they answered the phone, but the Brooklyn boys decided to investigate anyway. One of them spotted Collins in the car park across the street. He got trigger happy, and that was that.
Joe Collins. Then.
Right. Well, Miss Porter, if you ever run into Mary Winston...
I'll tell her all about the Christmas gift I got from swell detective named Fontaine.
No, I'm just a private detective, Miss Porter. But the police gave me the tip that you... Mary Winston might be working here.
Oh, then they knew...
A man named Wilson hired me for the case. Dr. Frank Wilson.
Franklin?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's out of the army now. Still very much in love with Mary Winston. Doesn't care where she's been. Just wants her to come back and marry him.
He must be quite a guy.
Yeah, he's okay. Now, incidentally, do you think you'll ever see Miss Winston again?
Yes, I do.
Well, do you think she might come back to Los Angeles sometime and clear things up with the police? Make the doctor happy?
I'm sure she will. Someday. You see, a girl like Mary gets to feel a little sore after working around in joints like this. She'll probably want to spend a year or so in cleaner surroundings. Maybe out in the desert. Sort of freshening up before going home. Seeing anyone she cared about.
Yeah. From what you said, I expect she would. Well, I might as well be getting along. Merry Christmas, Miss Porter. Happy New Year.
Let that whistle be your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, each Sunday night at this same time. Signal Oil Company has asked me to remind you, there's an easy way we can all help to make this holiday season happier for ourselves and others. Drive at sensible speeds, be courteous, and obey traffic regulations. It may save a life, possibly your own. Featured in tonight's story were Bill Foreman as the Whistler, Betty Lou Gerson, Bill Conrad, Bill Boucher, Marvin Miller, and Brett Wood on the harmonica. The Whistler was produced and directed by George W. Allen, with story by Ed Bloodworth. Music by Wilbur Hatch.
December 23rd, 1951, The Whistler on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, The Wind-Up, Part 5 of the 5-part Yours Truly Johnny Dollar story, The Nick Shurn Matter, December 23rd, 1955.
From Hollywood, it's time now for
Johnny Dollar.
Johnny Dollar? Spell it.
JohnnyDollar.
That's not right. You forgot to capitalize.
Hey, you're right, honey. Let me hear you spell your name.
Okay. Capital J-I-L-L, Jill. Capital O, apostrophe.
Apostrophe.
I never can say that. Capital D-A-R-E, Dare. Of course, my last name's actually something else. I forget. But my mother says I'm really an O'Dare.
Not the least doubt about it. I could see it in a minute.
I like you, Johnny Dollar.
And I kind of like you, too, Jill O'Dare.
You think my mother's pretty?
I think she's lovely.
Why don't you get married to her so I can have a daddy?
Well, that's certainly something to think about. And not a bad idea. Now, I want to be quiet before you wake her up.
I'm already awake, and with a plot like that being hatched, I think I'd better stay awake. Is there coffee, Johnny?
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. From Special Investigator Johnny Dollar, location a small cabin in the timber outside Branbury, Michigan. To the Home Office, Tri-Mutual Insurance Limited, Hartford, Connecticut. Assignment, The Nick Shurn Matter. Expense account, final page. Item 15, $1 million for a certain feeling. I realize, of course, that the amount of this item is somewhat unusual and may be cause for mild criticism by your accounting department, unless the accompanying report includes an adequate and detailed explanation. Therefore, to avoid unnecessary correspondence and delay, I am attaching said explanation herewith. Here's your coffee, Kathy.
Thanks. How long did I sleep, Johnny?
Oh, a couple of hours. It's around 4 in the morning.
The storm hasn't let up at all, has it?
Oh, it's worse, if anything.
Jill, honey, it's 4 o'clock in the morning and your eyes are just about to fall out. Now you go back there and go to sleep.
Do I have to, Mommy?
You have to. Run along now.
Mr. Johnny Dollar and me were having a lot of fun till you woke up.
Well, that's life, sweetie. Night now.
Good night, Jill.
Good night.
Proud of her?
I'm crazy about her. That's what you mean.
She's a great little girl.
She's the only thing I ever did in my whole life that turned out right.
That bad, huh?
Johnny, it's no good. I know why you're here. I know what you expect from me, and the answer's no.
You're jumping the gun. I haven't asked you anything.
You will. You haven't done all this for nothing. You're going to ask me to come back to New York and testify against Nick Shurn.
I might ask you to tell the truth. Is that just another way of wording it?
I didn't see anything, hear anything. I don't know anything about it, and I have nothing to say.
So Nick Shurn gets away with another murder.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
And sooner or later, of course, he'll kill you, too. He sent Benny Stark out to do it, and Benny missed. But he's got other boys, or he might even handle the job himself.
Why? By now he ought to know that I'm not going to tell.
But there's always that chance you might change your mind. And Nick's a gambler, but he likes the odds on his side. He doesn't take chances. Whenever he can, he stacks the deck.
I wish I could help you, Johnny. But I don't know anything about it. I left before it happened.
How long have you worked for Nick Shurn? Known him?
2 years. I'm not wide-eyed about him, Johnny. I've heard what he's been, what he may even still be, a gangster, hoodlum, racketeer, but that's none of my business. The club was legitimate. My job there was on the level, and he never got out of line once.
And no doubt he's always been kind to his mother and loves dogs and children.
I wouldn't know, except children. He's crazy about them. He was always buying something for Jill, asking about her.
And he also shot and killed Mel Pryker.
I couldn't say.
I see. Well, you're letting a lot of people down. People here in Branbury that you grew up with, people that love you. Your father, Dan Martin.
What have they got to do with it?
You know, it's a great country up here. I'd like to spend more time in it. And it's big country, big and beautiful and dangerous. Like that blizzard outside there. It's not the kind of country that turns out cowards.
Cowards?
Your father said something yesterday. That some people belong in cities and some don't. And that you're one of the second kind. He was right. The city's made a coward of you.
You don't understand.
And they know it. Old Mike, Dan, all of them. Of course, they'll never mention it. But you're letting them down, and they know it. And you know it, Kathy.
They don't have a daughter to think of.
It's not her fear we're talking about. It's yours.
All right, I'm scared. I've got reason to be. It's easy for you to talk. You don't know what fear is, what it can do to you.
I don't.
It can push you and drive you and make you do things you hate yourself for.
And it can destroy you.
How would you know? How would any of them know? Who haven't felt it, who haven't been there.
Kathy, you're not alone. We've all been there. It's not the fear that's important. It's the courage you bring up to fight it.
I've tried. I've nearly gone crazy trying to think it out. But it always comes back to one thing. Jill. She's what counts. Nothing else matters.
And if you love her, teach her to grow up without fear. Sacrifice anything if you have to, even your life, but teach her courage. There's nothing greater you could do for her. It's all right, Kathy. It's all right. It's all right now.
I knew what was right, Johnny. I knew all the time.
Sure. Of course you did. All you needed was a little push. Want to tell me about it now?
I was there at the club that night. When it happened, I stayed after closing. I had some presents for Jill, and I wanted to wrap them before I took them home. Nick and Mel Pryker were upstairs in the office.
Nick was there?
Yes. I could hear them arguing. They didn't know I'd stayed, and then...
Go on.
I heard Mel yell out. He said, "No, Nick, no." And then I heard the shots.
Yes?
I didn't even think. I ran up to the office. Mel was lying on the floor, and Nick was standing there with a gun. He told me to get out and to keep quiet if I wanted to keep on living.
That's it, huh?
Yes.
Would you make a statement to the police, testify at the trial?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Will you help me, Johnny? Will you stand by me?
You know I will.
You've got to, because I'm scared. I'll be scared all the way, but I'll do it if you'll help me.
I'll help you, Kathy, all the way. Why don't you curl up here and get some sleep? Come on.
Maybe now I can sleep.
It's going to be all right.
Thanks, Johnny, for giving me the push.
Oh, sure, honey.
You know something, Johnny? I'm with Jill. I like you, too.
She went to sleep with her face against my chest. And after a while, little Jill came tiptoeing in and curled up on the other side. And I sat there holding them both, thinking and waiting for the dawn. So that's what I mean about $1 million feeling. True, it wasn't my little girl, or my big girl either. But for the moment at least, well, that item still goes. I'll still tag that feeling at $1 million.
Are you there?
And I was sorry when the storm was over and a rescue party came up from town. Because I felt I'd had one moment in a lifetime that I'd never find again.
Good King Wenceslas looked down on the feast of Stephen when the snow lay round about.
The big event of the year in Branbury was the Christmas Eve show in the town hall. There was music and a pageant and singing, and everybody took part in it, from the youngest kid in town to the toughest old grizzled lumberjack from the back hills. Jill was in the children's chorus, and old Mike was to operate the spotlights, so they went on ahead. I took Kathy. And since she wasn't quite ready to face people yet, we made a point of getting there late. I didn't care when we got there, as long as I was with her. We slipped in quietly and took seats at the back of the room. The string group from the high school orchestra was playing, and no one noticed us. Not even old Mike, Kathy's father, who was working the spotlights.
I hope Jill does all right. She hasn't had any time to practice with
Oh,
us.
she'll do all right. We'd been there about 10 minutes when somebody else came in and slid into the one seat between us and the door. I didn't look around until I felt Kathy stiffen beside me.
Oh, no.
It was Nick Shurn.
Nobody gets excited now or makes any sudden moves. We just sit here quiet like.
He slid his hand over to feel inside my coat under my arm.
Now backing around, huh? Perfect.
I'd left my gun at Kathy's house. Old Mike had been dubious about it, but with Benny dead, I'd seen no reason to carry it. And after all, it was Christmas Eve.
All right, now we're going to ease out of here now without attracting no attention from anybody.
You're crazy, Nick. You're crazy.
Shut up. And just don't forget one thing, Dollar. I'm not holding this gun on you. It's aimed right at the middle of Kathy's back. Let's go.
No choice, Kathy. Come on. The back of the room was dark. Nobody paid any attention. Somebody was always leaving or coming back in.
Come on. I got a car over at the side here.
Johnny?
Watch it, Dollar.
We'll be right back, Mike. Just gonna get some air.
All right, Johnny. But don't go running out before I give you your present.
Huh?
Here. And don't uncork that until you're ready for some serious business.
All right, Thanks, Mike. Thanks a lot.
Don't mention it. Good luck, Johnny.
Yeah, come on, let's get away from here.
Johnny, he's going
Take it easy, Kathy.
It's for me!
Now what?
Oh, no. Jill, go back.
I want to see Uncle Nick. Why did you tell me you were coming here to hear me sing, Uncle Nick?
Well, listen.
Pick me up. Please, Uncle Nick. Take your hands out of your pocket and pick me up.
Look, Jill, you run along now. Who's that?
Dan Martin. He's a deputy sheriff, and he's a dead shot. Better do like she says, Nick. Take your hand out of your pocket and pick her up.
Uncle Nick?
All right, reach in my pocket, Johnny, and take my gun.
Later, Kathy and I walked around outside. We could still hear the children's chorus singing inside.
Jill saved our lives tonight.
No, she saved Nick's life.
What do you mean?
That present your father gave me, up there at the spotlights, he could see what was happening, and he thought real fast. That present was a gun.
Then you...
I had Nick covered from the time we stepped off the porch.
I'm glad he didn't move. I'm glad it happened like it did.
Yeah, so am I.
I thought we'd never see those stars up there again.
You kept hold of yourself, Kathy. You showed a lot of courage.
No. But maybe I can learn to show it. I was just thinking, Johnny, looking at the stars up there. There was fear in the world then. 2,000 years ago. And he had courage.
Expense account, item 16, $230.40, incidentals in Branbury, and transportation for 2 adults and 1 child, Branbury to New York. Expense account total $486.20. End of account, end of report. Remarks? Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to all of you, from all of us here on the program. And God bless you. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by Les Crutchfield, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Heard in this week's cast were Virginia Gregg, Peggy Weber, Don Diamond, Ben Wright, Jack Crucian, Barney Phillips, Sam Edwards, and Ken Christie. Musical supervision by Amerigo Marino. Be sure to join us on Monday night, same time and station, for another exciting story of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
I don't think they could have come up with a better program. From December 23rd, 1955, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Visit my webpage, classicradio.stream. There you can stream our shows on demand. You can learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can contact me there, find our social media links. And if you'd like to help support us, you can buy me a coffee. That Buy Me a Coffee money helps us bring you additional classic radio theater collections, to acquire them, I should say, and also to make sure our distribution channels stay up and running. That's at classicradio.stream. Please thank this radio station and support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that allow us to be with you each and every time we roll around here on your favorite station. And on behalf of all of us, please accept our warmest wishes for a very Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous 2023. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Probably one of the best Christmas presents you could give them. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.